went like this, full of voices. Ancestry howling at you, gibbering stories. All voices tied up into one.
Before the days of the multiple prestigious awards coming out of his ears, Tom Hanks was making hearts around the world melt as a child was magically turned into a grown man overnight. The movie I'm describing is Big, and when I was growing up in the 80s, when I thought of Tom Hanks, Big was definitely the #1 movie that would pop up in my head. What's special about Tom Hanks is that he is the quintessential actor whose cheerful everyman persona made him a natural for starring roles in some of the biggest pop culture movies of the past couple of decades. In the 1990s, he expanded his comedic repertoire of the 70s and 80s and began portraying lead characters in dramas such as Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, or even a World War II soldier in Saving Private Ryan. He is one of the most popular and recognizable film stars worldwide and is regarded as an American cultural icon. This has definitely made Tom Hanks one of the most, if not the most popular and recognizable film star worldwide. That being said, this is the second part of my retrospective following Tom Hanks' career throughout his good and bad movies. The first video looked at Tom Hanks from his humble beginnings acting in TV shows to his breakout role in Splash and finally transitioning to more dramatic films in the 90s. This video will follow Tom Hanks' career from the 2000s onwards. With that being said, let's look at Tom Hanks from 2000s to current times. The 2000s started strong with Hanks playing in the Robert Zemeckis movie Castaway, where he plays a FedEx troubleshooter stranded on an uninhabited island after his plane crashes in the South Pacific, with the plot focusing on his desperate attempts to survive and return home. Initial filming took place from January to March of 1999 before resuming in April 2000 and concluding that May. Castaway grossed $429 million worldwide, with Hanks nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role at the 73rd Academy Awards. On an interesting note, because Hanks needed to lose and gain weight for the scenes that were shot on the deserted island where he is stranded for 4 years after his plane crashed, the film Castaway needed to take a hiatus of 2 months between the filming of the first part and the second part, allowing Hanks to transform his body for the role. His next starring role was in the 2002 movie Road to Perdition, which is based on a graphic novel of the same name. This movie follows Mike Sullivan, played by Tom Hanks, who is an enforcer for a powerful Depression-era Midwestern mobster John Rooney. Rooney's son Connor is jealous of the close bond they share, and when Mike's eldest son Michael witnesses a hit, Connor uses the incident as an excuse to murder Sullivan's wife and youngest son. Forced to flee, Sullivan and Michael set out on a journey of revenge and self-discovery. Sam Mendes, while directing the film, really tried his best to create a period film that would avoid cliches in the gangster genre. And in order to make the movie visually interesting, Mendes drew inspiration from the paintings of Edward Hopper as a source to create interesting visuals throughout the film, and particularly the 1939 movie New York Movie. The film was well received by critics and earned 5 Academy Award nominations. That same year, Hanks starred alongside Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie Catch Me If You Can. That tells the story of Frank Abagnale, who before his 19th birthday successfully performs cons worth millions of dollars by posing as a Pan-American World Airways pilot, a Georgia doctor, and a Louisiana parish prosecutor. His foremost crime was check fraud. Through his cons, he became so highly skilled that the FBI later turned to him for help catching other check forgers. This movie is actually based on the real-life story and autobiography of Frank Abagnale, who is an American fraudster who conned people by passing bad checks starting when he was 15 years of age and even flew more than 1 million miles while pretending to be a Pan-American World Airways pilot. In 2004, Tom Hanks acted in The Terminal, which was another movie directed by Steven Spielberg. Hanks and Spielberg have worked on many movies throughout the years, and this is one of the best collaborations between the two. This film is really interesting because it's partially inspired by the true story of the 18-year stay of Mehram Karimianasseri in the Terminal 1 of Paris-Charles de Gaulle Airport, France from 1988 to 2006. In this movie, we follow Viktor Navorsky, played by Tom Hanks, who is an Eastern European tourist arriving at the JFK International Airport in New York at the same moment as war breaks out in his country. Because of that, he finds himself caught up in international politics, with the Department of Homeland Security not letting him enter or exit the United States. Trapped at JFK indefinitely, Victor falls for a flight attendant while also figuring out different ways of making his stay at the airport as pleasant as possible. Spielberg decided to work on this movie because he wanted to make a film that could make us laugh and cry and feel good about the world. Due to a lack of suitable airports willing to provide their facilities for the production, an entire working set was built inside a large hangar at the LA Palmdale Regional Airport, with most of the film's exterior shots taken from the Montreal Mirabel International Airport. That same year, Hanks worked on a movie called Elvis Has Left the Building. He then lent his voice for the animated film The Polar Express, narrated Magnificent Desolation, Walking on the Moon 3D, and even made a cameo voice appearance in Disney Pixar's Cars as a car version of his iconic character Woody from the franchise Toys. In 2006, he acted in The Da Vinci Code, which was the first movie from the Robert Langdon mystery thriller novel adaptations written by Dan Brown. After the popularity of this movie, 2 more sequels were released, including an adaptation of Angels and Demons, which is the true first book in the series. As for the Da Vinci Code, it follows symbiologist Robert Langdon and cryptologist Sophie Neveu after a murder in the Louvre Museum in Paris causes them to become involved in a battle between the Priory of Sion and Opus Dei over the possibility of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene having had a child together. The Da Vinci Code provoked a popular interest in speculation concerning the Holy Grail legend and Mary Magdalene's role in the history of Christianity. The film grossed $224 million in its worldwide opening weekend and a total of $760 million worldwide, becoming the second highest grossing film of 2006, as well as Howard's highest grossing film to date, even though critics didn't seem to like it too much. Angels and Demons, the prequel to this movie, was filmed in 2009, and the third movie in the Langdon saga was Inferno, which was released in 2016. Obviously, Tom Hanks being a big box office draw, he kept working on many other movies throughout the years, such as Charlie Wilson's War and The Great Buck Howard, but the next project that really marked me in Hanks' career was for the third movie in the Toys animated movie franchise as the character of Woody. Often sequels are never as good as their original counterparts, but this doesn't seem to apply to Pixar movies, as pretty much almost all of their animated movies have such amazing stories, and as the technology improves, the visuals of each and every one of them keeps becoming more mind-blowing. Toys 3 became the second Pixar film after Up, and third animated film overall after Beauty and the Beast and Up to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture, and was the first animated film to gross over $1 billion worldwide in ticket sales. Toys 3 focuses on Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and Andy's other remaining toys accidentally being donated to a daycare center while Andy, now 17 years old, is preparing to leave for college and their ensuing race to get home before Andy leaves. In 2011, Hanks' new movie Larry Crowne was released. This movie follows Larry Crowne, played by Tom Hanks, who was once well respected at his company after finding himself on the unemployment line after a wave of corporate downsizing. Drowning in debt and unsure of what to do with his life, Larry enrolls in college where he becomes part of a community of misfits who are all trying to carve out a better future. The possibility of romance enters the picture when Larry meets Mercedes, an instructor who has lost her passion for both teaching and her marriage. Even though this movie has a good premise and a colorful supporting cast, it doesn't really present much more and almost feels like an indie film in my eyes. Either way, in its simplicity, I cannot say that it's his best project, but still deserves a watch because of the exact fact that it's not trying to be a bigger movie than what it is. In 2012, Tom Hanks acted in Cloud Atlas, which is an epic science fiction film written and directed by the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer, adapted from the 2004 novel of the same name by David Mitchell. This is somewhat of a complex movie as the film has multiple plots occurring during 6 different eras in time. The novel's writer describes it as a sort of pointillist mosaic. Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, and Jim Broadbent star as part of an ensemble cast, taking on multiple roles in this epic that spans 5 centuries. An attorney harbors a fleeing slave on a voyage from the Pacific Islands in 1849. A poor composer in pre-World War II Britain struggles to finish his magnum opus before a past act catches up with him. A genetic engineered worker in 2144 feels the forbidden stirring of human consciousness, and so on. As souls are born and reborn, they renew their bonds to one another throughout time. This is definitely a movie that goes against most Hollywood movie simplicity and has had polarized reactions from both critics and audiences who debated its length and editing of the interwoven stories, but praise it for other aspects such as its cinematography, score, visual style, ensemble cast, and ambition. In 2013, the movie Saving Mr. Banks was released, which was a biographical drama film centered on the development of the 1964 film Mary Poppins. Saving Mr. Banks depicts the author's tragic childhood in rural Queensland in 1906 and the 2 weeks of meetings during 1961 in Los Angeles, during which Disney attempts to obtain the screen rights to her novel. The premise of acquiring the rights to Mary Poppins was spurred on by a promise Walt made to his daughters. In the movie, Tom Hanks embarks on what would become a 20-year quest to obtain the movie rights to Mary Poppins. In this semi-biographical movie reimagining, the author of Mary Poppins, P.L. Travers, proves to be an uncompromising person who has no intention of letting her beloved characters become mangled in the Hollywood machine. However, when the books stop selling and she finds herself in need of money, Travers reluctantly agrees to consider Disney's proposition. What's interesting is that even though Saving Mr. Banks depicts P.L. Travers as needing to be convinced to hand over her film rights, including a scene in which Disney finally persuades her, this has been proven to be fictionalized to make the movie more interesting, as several recorded accounts confirm that Disney had already secured the film rights, subject to Travers' approval of the script when she arrived to consult with Disney staff. Well, I guess we'll have to forgive the filmmakers for wanting to make the film more interesting than real life. Personally, I think it's a great movie and they did a good job making the story interesting. In 2015, the movie Bridge of Spies, which was directed by Steven Spielberg, was released. I told you guys that Hanks and Spielberg were inseparable. This film was shot under the working title of St. James Place. Principal photography began on September 8, 2014 in Brooklyn, New York City, and the production proceeded at Babelsberg Studios in Potsdam. Set during the Cold War, the film tells the story of lawyer James B. Donovan, who is entrusted with negotiating the release of Francis Gary Powers, a US Air Force pilot whose U-2 spy plane was shot down over the Soviet Union in 1960 in exchange for Rudolf Abel, a convicted Soviet KGB spy held by the United States, whom Donovan represented at a trial. The name of the film refers to the Glenig Bridge, which connects Potsdam with Berlin, where the prisoner exchange took place. Bridge of Spies received critical acclaim, grossing worldwide a total of $165.6 million at the box office. Throughout the following years, Tom Hanks acted in a bunch of noteworthy movies such as Ithaca, A Hologram for the King, Sully, Inferno, which was the third movie in the Robert Langdon mysteries, The Circle, The Post, and he even reprised his role of Woody in Toy Story 4. Even though all these projects are noteworthy, speaking about each and every one of them would literally take another video. This is why I want to focus on A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which was released in 2019. This movie is a biographical drama film that is based on the 1998 article Can You Say Hero, published in Esquire, and tells the story of Lode Vogel, an investigative journalist who receives an assignment to profile Fred Rogers, also known as Mr. Rogers. He approaches the interview with skepticism as he finds it hard to believe that anyone can have such a good nature. But Rogers' empathy, kindness, and decency soon chips away at Vogel's jaded outlook on life, forcing the reporter to reconcile with his own painful past. This movie was very successful, making a box office worldwide total of $68.3 million against a production budget of $25 million. In 2020, Tom Hanks was in another movie called Greyhound, set months after the US entry into World War II, where an inexperienced US Navy commander must lead an Allied convoy being stalked by a German submarine wolf pack. That same year, he made a brief cameo in the Borat sequel, playing a parody of himself and poking fun at the comedic events that happened in 2020. Many other projects are being developed with Tom Hanks starring in them, and even more stuff got released in 2020. But once again, this would require another video to go through each and every one of these projects. As you guys can see, Tom Hanks is a fan favorite and a national treasure in Hollywood. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing pretty much any future project that he's acting in or has a hand producing. Please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and looking back at Hanks' rise to fame up to his current projects. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.